Luis Miranda is a former DNC communications director, and he joins us tonight. Luis, thanks a lot for coming on.
Hey, thanks, Tucker. I appreciate the opportunity to have an honest conversation on this, particularly as we're also remembering President George H.W. Bush, who taught us that we can disagree on some of these issues, but do it respectfully. So I really appreciate the chance to do this.
Well, I do too.
Yeah, I went to the Capitol yesterday just after leaving the studio here to see him. Took my kids, and that was one of the things we talked about, is that there's going to be different perspectives on these issues, but we can talk about them respectfully.
Right.
And I think what you've laid out here brings up some very legitimate issues. The question is,
so that's what I like about what's happening in Tijuana, and I feel deeply for the people of Tijuana because I think they're going through what a lot of Americans have gone through. But because it is Tijuana and it is Mexico, we can't dismiss them as anti-Hispanic. And so we have to look more clearly at what their concerns are. And so my question to you is a very simple one. Looking at the concerns that we just played on tape, and those are real, does it make you a little more empathetic toward our fellow Americans who have similar feelings?
I think we have to be empathetic all around here, which includes people who have legitimate concerns, but a lot of those concerns are being stoked without a basis of reality. And so here's the problem, that a lot of these immigrants that are part of this caravan are decent people who are fleeing either violence or economic situations that are untenable. But they're victims all around because they're being victimized by human traffickers and smugglers that want to take advantage of them.
I agree with that.
And so there's actually an AP analysis that just came out that 4,000 of these people have disappeared in the last few years on the way.
Yes.
In other words, their families have no idea what happened to them. They either got murdered or worse just along the way. And so there's a legitimate humanitarian crisis of people who were being taken advantage of and victimized on that end.
I totally agree, but I just want to shine the light on the victims who don't really get representation of any kind in the press, and those are the citizens who are having to absorb large populations of, and I agree with you, largely decent people. I think most migrants want what I want, which is a better life for their families. I get it.
That's exactly
right.
I
don't think most of them are criminals.
I've
always thought that. But hold on. But I think it's important to empathize as deeply with the citizens whose lives are being upended by the arrival of these immigrants as it is with the immigrants themselves. So when you see this, can you say that, you know, American citizens say, I don't want any more immigration. We've had more than we can handle. They're not just racist, are they? I mean, they have a point. Do they not?
I don't think they're racist. I think it's important that they also understand the other side of this, which is that immigrants have actually made our economy a lot stronger through the years. You touched on it a little bit at the beginning. Let me add some color to that, which includes that our population is aging. We have baby boomers retiring, and a lot of the people that we are able to replace in the economy are because of immigration. Now, we want to do that ideally in a legal and orderly fashion, but the reality is that we have a huge advantage over Europe.
Hold on. I need to ask this question. You say our population is aging. We're not reproducing ourselves. Why do you think that is? Nobody seems to pause and ask, why can't young Americans afford to get married and have children, afford to buy homes and cars? And their solution, the elite solution, is we'll just bring in new people. But what about the Americans, the young people? I'm a 30-year-old American. I can't afford to have kids. Does anybody care about that person? I mean, maybe there's a real problem here that we should... Well, really? Because I never hear that person addressed ever. No one ever says that. It's like, oh, we need immigration.
It's an industrialized country issue more than it has to do with... But I'm an American. But hold on. I'm an American, okay? So my concern is for my fellow Americans, and they can't afford to have children, but rather than fix their problems or even think about them, we're like, we'll just import new children. Does that seem like a sort of ass-backward way to approach this? We should be able to do both. Look, over the last 10 years, American companies and stocks have outperformed the rest of the world by a lot. American companies and the economy have been so strong over the last 10 years compared to anything else in the world. And part of the reason for that is because we have an economy that is constantly renewing itself. And so we absolutely should be able to have an economy where people who want to have children can do so. But it doesn't mean that we don't have the space to absorb it.
No, but hold on. But that's not what you're saying. Hold on. You just said we need to bring in people because Americans aren't reproducing in sufficient numbers. And my question is, why aren't our leaders thinking about how our people can afford to have children? They don't even consider that a subject worth studying, much less trying to fix. It's just like, oh, well, they're not having enough kids.
But
why doesn't anyone care enough?
Those aren't mutually exclusive things.
You're saying that our low birth rates are the justification for immigration. I'm saying our low birth rates are a tragedy that say something awful about our economy and the selfish stupidity of our leaders.
It's a combination of our growth and our prosperity that enables us to have a stronger economy. So there's definitely both sides to this where you can look at, well, who are going to be hurt. But when you've looked at states like Georgia and others that have implemented anti-immigrant measures that forced a lot of these immigrants out, what you saw was, food rotting on the vines, a lot of lost crops because there weren't enough people there to work them. And so the reality is that we can both do something about strengthening the economy for people who are suffering and who are American and who have lived here their whole lives. They want to have children. They want to have an opportunity to do better than their parents
Maybe
did.
someone should care about them a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's the most important thing. Nothing is even close to as important as that. But that doesn't mean that we have to demonize the immigrants who are legitimate victims of this I'm not demonizing
process.
anybody. I'm not against the immigrants. I'm just for Americans, and nobody cares about them. It's like, shut up, you're dying, we're going to replace you. And it's deeply offensive. Anyway, we're out of time. I hope you will come back, because I enjoyed that conversation. Thank you.
Likewise, Tucker. Thank you.